Hi there. I was called by Al Circle to give you my views around a very sensitive subject, which is the tariffs. And particularly, I'm going to speak of the tariffs at the United States, and particularly on aluminum. Okay? I mean, I'm not going to get involved into any political comment, just to see what happens, what happened, what happens, and what may happen. I won't speak because we all know, the world knows, that anything can happen, okay? Because this is part of the policy of the new government. I mean the tariffs, okay? So originally, we had those announcements until we landed on a very effective announcement to be aluminum 50%, okay? The tariffs on aluminum, the import tariffs, remember, it's import tariffs. The import tariffs, they charge on the US imports coming from anywhere in the world. So, unless there is a special agreement, which might not, generally speaking, an import tariff, in this case 50%, is the amount which is to be paid on the import value. So now, what happens with the import tariffs of aluminum? Who pays for that? Why the world has cried that much? Because at the very origin, everybody expected that the US importer would put pressure on the foreign exporter to bring the prices down, which was not the case. How do we see that? Because when we have a look at the price of the aluminum, primary aluminum, completely inside the USA, I mean primary because the scrap is treated differently. The price is around $4,000. Yes, $4,000, which means 2,600 of the Ali and a premium of 1,400 in addition, which means it's a little bit more than 50%. In other words, it is the consumer, the US consumer, paying for tariffs, period. Okay? In the United States, the consumer is paying for the tariffs. The impact on inflation, we will see. The impact on the cost, we will see. Why is that? And why, in my opinion, those tariffs may stay. Why is that? Because when you see the world production, and let's speak about rough figures, the aluminum worldwide production is 70 million tons. 70 million. You know how much is produced in China? Around 40 million tons. If China produces 40 million tons, how much do you imagine the US is producing? A similar number. Not the same, because it would be higher than the world's production. But the USA is producing much less than a million. I guess around 800,000. So, from the political point of view, if anyone wants to consolidate or create or recreate or making the primary industry rebirth, definitively this is a protection, whether we like it, whether we don't like it. So with this strong tariff, there is an important incentives for the locals to be exploring alternatives to expand what is installed, which is very little, less than a million, or create new smelters. But the new smelter takes years, 3-4 years. But somewhere in the view of the government, somewhen it has to be started. And the decision is to start this year. So in other words, most probably the tariffs on primary aluminum will stay for a long period of time, because the decision is based on the creation or the rebirth of the aluminum industry. And on top of that, the cost of these higher tariffs is already everywhere. So we will see the further impact on inflation. But if you dream that the tariffs will go down on aluminum, I hope so, but I won't be sure. Thank you very much for this space.